So it hit me the other day, right? I wish there were a few things I would have known. Let's say I was 20 years old and just starting out in the game, which I feel like would have saved me so much time. And honestly, it would have made the experience a little bit easier to navigate. But hey, we're here now, and I want to make sure that you know what I wish I knew. Let's break this down. Here are 6 tips which are going to help you for your journey. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with film production, etc. It could be for any role that you're doing. Maybe you're building your own personal brand. Take what you can and leave some ideas in the comments. Now, just like everyone else, I'm sure you get an idea. There's something that just pops up in your brain. Maybe you've been inspired because there was a problem that you wanted to solve and that you experienced, and you weren't really thinking too deeply about it, but you just felt like there was an urge to solve that problem. Maybe there's a storyline, something that you're passionate about that you feel maybe already exists into the world, but hasn't been quite nailed with the perspective that you think could be done. Or for instance, maybe it's a business opportunity and you see there's a demand to supply it. When I first started out within video production, I felt so many of these different things. Sometimes there were ideas, sometimes they were business ideas, sometimes they were just issues I had with day to day with tech or whatever it was. The general consensus came down to a pain point of solving that problem. Now, my issue as a creative would be that I think sometimes I didn't have the order in my head of what took priority, what my today priorities were versus what were things that were going to take 10, maybe 20, 30 years to complete. A lot of the time, some of these ideas can just feel just as important as one another. Like you might have an idea that, okay, I need to create an app. Maybe you have a story that you want to tell, and maybe you're also trying to do a business. The best advice I would have given here would be to slow down. You've got to think about longevity and your legacy. And for me personally, I felt like there's no bad ideas. I think within an idea, there's a concept that is true and you could develop it. But the one thing I didn't consider with a lot of these ideas is the maintenance. You have an idea that pops into your head, you feel this immediate rush to solve it, but you're not considering however many things that you have to already maintain, as well as maintaining this new idea, being able to see it from the start to the finish. So sometimes it can feel like, oh, I need to do this, 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 and this, and this. But the reality is, you might not be able to perform all the tasks to maintain it. So it's about prioritizing. Which one is more important? Is it something that can be done in a short space of time, or is it something that's going to take a long period of time? And you have to be a bit more realistic with yourself about how much energy you can actually give something to be able to maintain it and follow it through. Because over time, what will happen is that you have a whole load of ideas that you haven't actually executed on just a single thing that you could have done. And this one thing over time could have built into something bigger. And then you can move to the next thing. For me, I didn't know that. For me, it felt like a gold mine of ideas that I just felt like I needed to get done now, not considering all the responsibilities, the maintenance on my own personal life, and even just self care. And me being realistic with myself and if I'd be able to maintain something like this. Number two, with whatever idea that you do get, whether you're building a service or whether you're building a product, I understand the need to sometimes want to look perfect and clean and just on point at every time you release. But I think there are different ways to communicate with the customer and your client. So for me, for instance, you're delivering a project for your client and you want to look the best as possible. Of course, you're going to want the service to be flawless. You're going to want the product itself to be flawless. And just the whole experience in engagement, the communication, you're going to want that to be flawless. However, let's say you wanted to show your new potential clients how you navigate issues with problem solving. In today's world, showing the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's be real, problems always arise. I can't think of one project where an issue hasn't come about and we've had to do some sort of problem solving. I feel like in every project I've done, there's always been something that happens. And it's very easy to bypass it and just solve it, and that's it. But maybe as a marketing tool, what you could do is document what you're doing and find a way to show how you overcame an issue so that your new potential clients might be able to say, all right, you know what, he's a decent person. You know what, we're going to go with him because we can see that when problems come up, which they do, you'll be able to navigate them and maintain all those different things. Great communication, being able to communicate through the problem. Sometimes creatives experience burnout with being able to develop and create this product, but also communicating with their client. And that can sometimes just be one of their biggest letdowns, which I've personally found through producing, exec producing, even just working alongside other creatives. The beauty of showing the good, the bad, and ugly doesn't always have to be a negative thing. Sometimes that can be your superpower because of the fact that you market yourself to be realistic. And people do love the fact when you're just authentic. So that would be my tip number two. Tip number three, I can put my hand up and say I'm very guilty of this. Don't show the product until you are 100% ready to move forward with it. What I mean is, many times you get ahead of yourself and you are creating some sort of idea and you want to share it with people, you want to tell people about it. Now, I do believe sometimes this can actually work in your favor. In my own personal experience, I found that when I've told people about an idea that hasn't been finished or completed in terms of ideation, creation, and release. In any of those stages, I found that it can sometimes ruin what I'm doing. Because for me personally, when I'm making an idea, I'm very motivated to actually go and get that done. The issue is that as you over tell people what you're doing, sometimes you can kind of lose the motivation. That might come in the form of a simple conversation where maybe someone's questioning you about the idea that you're creating. Maybe someone's seen something like that already and they're letting you know it's been done. And maybe it might just be a simple, you just don't feel as motivated once you've told other people about it. So my thing is, yes, it's good to know when to promote what you're doing. I would say there's phases. You want to develop an idea, you want to make sure it's ready and do the final checks. Having used your strategy, then release it. Now, in any of that order, if you was to overshare, that could simply ruin maybe ideation of it. That could ruin the preparation of it. And it might just spoil the final deliverable, being that you've put in two different stages of it. Get your ideas ready. Don't look at the socials. Don't look at YouTube. Just be disciplined with what it is that you want to do and go out there and get it done. And once it's ready to be shouted about and promoted, you can do all the promoting. But for me personally, that's something I wish I knew when I was younger. So documenting and posting your journey. Now, I would say this is quite important, mainly because for personal reasons, it's just a great way to inspire yourself. I wouldn't even say it's all about getting yourself out there. Sometimes it's just nice to keep things for yourself. It was the other day and I was on my hard drive looking for a certain clip that I'd used ages ago in a project and I just wanted to be able to insert it into this new thing that I was doing. I stumbled across a folder with old footage, archive footage from when we were kids, just creating with no limits, not thinking about what other people thought, just making things. It made me think like, you know what, you need to actually document the journey because sometimes you might be your own inspiration. I'm here on YouTube telling you different things that you might be able to do to re-inspire yourself. But personally, I find that I inspire myself the most, you know? And sometimes it just takes those small little moments of remembering that moment that made you feel a certain way. So if you can, document your journey, even if it isn't to be shared online. The benefit of it is that when you do have videos that you want to be able to use archive footage, you've got your own journey documented and no one else can do that for you but yourself. That might be an inspiration to complete a project. That might be a clip that you needed to be in order to complete a storyline. It could be anything. It could be something that is used to show people the process of you starting out in your middle and obviously where you're at now. So document your journey, make it playful, and just don't take this thing seriously. Because in all honesty, it feels a lot better when you just enjoy the process versus having all these targets and things that you need to hit. You can just enjoy the process of documenting where you're at now and then looking back at it at a certain time.
First proper day. This is day 2 of us in New York. We just managed to book ourselves a job for to film for Atlantic Records.
Lastly, okay, so something I learned, and this is probably one of the biggest lessons for me in building something, is that 1% of something is always going to be better than 100% of nothing. Now, the reason why I learned that lesson comes down to creating a business. When I first started, when we was in our teenage years, me and my business partner created a business together called Diamond Clear, which was a video production company servicing labels, artists, brands with different videos that they needed. What I've learned with building a brand, a company, or anything that I want to create and scale up is that having a team is essential. It's so easy to just say you have an idea that you want to be able to create it and it's your idea and that you want to lead it. But the reality is it always takes a team to create something. And this is something that I maybe didn't value at the time. Now the issue was navigating all the challenges as a leader versus being a people person and being able to manage and support and nurture others. And at the time, it felt like I was literally lifting a whole infrastructure up by myself. But what I didn't realize was that the small areas that I was neglecting were things that the team were managing. Now, when we disbanded and we decided to part ways, I realized one of my biggest lessons is that although I had this company to myself, I didn't enjoy leading and doing all the things that I used to do, because when I had a team, I had a family like relationship with everyone. And so it was very friendly, very informal, and we all enjoyed just creating and the idea of coming together in one office and just making something. But when it's by yourself and you literally have to push this thing, whether you're sick, you don't have the motivation, maybe there's low money in the company account, or for instance, you're having an issue with one of your clients and you just need another perspective. Those are some of the details that you miss out on. It's not necessarily about the idea of owning something 100% by yourself, because that's great for the long run. But without that essential support, it's going to be really hard to maintain it and scale it to the next level. Now, that's a lesson that I learned, but you might have some other things that you want to drop into the comments. So if you do, please leave them below. I'd love to hear your opinions. But those are 6 things I wish I knew when I was younger. I hope you enjoyed the video. We're going to jump into the next one very soon. Peace.